Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today we are going to have a topic of class 10th, which is prose chapter number 5, the Sermon at Banaras, which is written by Berta Rensta. So before going to the text, let us see a word in our title. What does sermon mean? What is the difference between, which is actually a question also in your textbook, what is the difference between a sermon and a lecture? A sermon is a talk on religious or moral, if we can write it, talk on religious or moral subject. So a difference between, simple difference this, it is a talk, but it is specifically refers to some religious or moral subject. But as far as lecture is concerned, a lecture can be a talk or in written form also. It may be in written form also, normally in spoken form. It may be on different subjects. So what this chapter actually talks about, it talks about an incident in the life of Buddha. Before we actually go to the text, we will go have a reading of the text, because it is a very short prose chapter, 5th chapter in our textbook. Let us briefly give an idea what this chapter talks about. There is a lady whose name is Kissa Gautami. She was having a son who died. So in her grief, she goes from place to place in her neighbors and asking people about. Let me try to give a visual kind of thing of this. This is Kissa Gautami. She is having a child who expires or who dies. So in order to, but she was not ready to accept that her child expires, her child dies. So what she did, she goes to her neighbors and asking them to give medicine to the child so that he becomes alive again. In the process, one of the neighbors, rest of the neighbors thought that she has gone mad in her grief. Basically, this chapter talks about grief also, mainly talks about sufferings in human life. We will go to the text in detail, what suffering is, then how we can overcome suffering and how we can overcome grief in life. Then this Kissa Gautami was told by one of the neighbors that you go to a person whose name is Buddha. He was sitting somewhere, he was sitting near a tree, he was meditating there. So she went to him and asked Buddha. This gentleman told this Kissa Gautami that his name is Shakya Muni. Shakya Muni means the sage of the Shakya clan, wise man of the Shakya clan. So she goes to Buddha and asks Buddha to give some medicine to my child so that he becomes alive. In return, Buddha told her that I will give you medicine, but before that you go and bring me a handful of mustard seed, जिसको हम उर्दू में what we call in Urdu is सरसों का तेल जिससे निकलता है फिर. So she goes but he puts a condition that bring that handful of mustard from a house where no one has died, none of their family member has died. In the process, this Kissa Gautami goes from house to house. Everybody offered her mustard seed, but when she puts the next question to the people from where she received this handful of mustard seed about this, whether somebody has died in their home or not, they all said in affirmative yes, and they grieved all. So finally she herself realized that it is not possible to get a mustard seed from a house where someone has not lost his or her dear one. So this is the brief crux of this chapter. So in return, what Buddha told her becomes the sermon, becomes the talk on this important religious or morals. It is basically a moral, religious or religious subject. Then it also relates to our morality as well. So this talk then which Buddha, or this sermon which Buddha told to Kissa Gotami, becomes the sermon at Banaras, and it is written. It has been taken from the writings of Berta Rensta. So let us try to please keep your textbook in front of you. We will try to have a reading of the text and a brief explanation of pairwise explanation of this. Who was Buddha actually? Buddha was a prince named Siddhartha Gautama. He lived in northern India. At the age of 12, what he did, he was sent away for schooling in Hindu scriptures, and after 4 years he returned home to marry a princess. So after that they had a son, and they lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. Befitted royalty means what was the royal kind of life. He enjoyed his life. There was no suffering at all. But at about age of 35, Buddha, what we call Buddha, met people while hunting out. He met people who were suffering. He first met a sick man, then an aged man, then he saw a funeral procedure, and finally a monk begging for alms. Alms means begging for things. These sights melted the heart of Buddha. He was in a fix that there is so much suffering in the world, there must be some solution to these sufferings. So he tried to look out for this the solution of these sufferings, and in the process what happened, he tried to seek for enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. Then after that he wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a fig tree. Fig tree means जो अंजीर का ट्री होता है, where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. He decided that he would stay under this fig tree till he received the enlightenment, till he becomes aware of what is the real nature of suffering and what should be the solution of this suffering. After 7 days of spending under this fig tree, which he later called as Bo tree or the tree of wisdom, he received this enlightenment, and he began to teach and share his new understandings or this new enlightenment, what he received through some external agency. And it is at this point of time that he was, otherwise he was simply, before that he was Siddhartha Gautama, his name was Siddhartha Gautama, but after that he was called as Buddha. Buddha means, it is written on your textbook on page number 41, the awakened or the enlightened, one who becomes aware, one who becomes one who receives light about one who receives knowledge of different things. Then Buddha preached his first sermon, his first talk. We have already talked about what sermon is. It is not a lecture, it is a sermon. At the city of Banaras, this is the most holy of the dripping places where water, because of the river Ganga, that sermon has been preserved and is given here. So now after that comes the sermon. It reflects Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. It means the word inscrutable has been explained in your glossary also. It is mysterious kind of thing, that suffering is, it is mysterious, it is difficult to understand it, difficult to talk about it, but in his sermon he tries to explain it through his through his words, through his talk. So now starts this what we call sermon in the form of an episode between Buddha and Kissa Gotami. And Kissa Gotami is a lady who loses her child. She had an only child, Kissa Gotami, and he died. What she did, in her grief, she carried her dead child in her arms and went from one house of her neighbors to another and asking them for medicine. People realized, people thought that she has lost her senses. The boy is simply dead. What is she talking about? She is talking about medicine. It's not possible to bring a dead man back to life. Finally, what happened? She met a man who told her in response to her request, I cannot give thee medicine. That means I cannot give you medicine for the child, but I know a physician who can. But I know a person, I know a doctor who can give you a medicine. And the girl said, Kissa Gotami said, pray, tell me, sir, who is it? And the man replied, go to Salyamuni, the Buddha. The pray word has been also explained. You know, in old usage we say please, please, or may I ask you. These difficult words are already explained in our textbook. You can refer to page number 42 where they have been explained. What did this man reply to her? There comes another man. It was one of the, you can say, a neighbors, or simply a man who asked her to go to Buddha, who will in turn help you in giving medicine to your child. Salyamuni, I have already told you, Salyamuni is a, Muni means sage, Salya is a, Shakyamuni. Shakya was the clan to which Buddha actually belonged, to which Siddhartha Gautama belonged. He was of the Shakya clan. That is why he was, Kissa Gautami was told that go to the Shakyamuni, the Buddha. Kissa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and right. This word repaired has been used in the form of, it means go or went here, because the past form it is went. Now what did Kissa Gautami told to Buddha? Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy, because she was looking for the medicine of her dead child who had lost his life. In return, Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. So Buddha put a condition that he wants a mustard seed. Mustard seed. Mustard means जिसको हम सरसों उर्दू में बोलते हैं. That too a handful of mustard seed. So Kissa Gautami became happy that now is the chance of getting her child back to life. She feel joy, and when the girl in the joy promised to procure it, get it, means she became joyful that I will get it. The Buddha added. Now he put another condition. The mustard seed must be taken from the house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or dead. That this mustard seed should be from a family where no one has died. That means they must not have lost their son, husband, parent, or friend. Now this was the condition which was very difficult to fulfill. It was easy to get a handful of mustard seed from anywhere, from our relatives, from our neighbors, but this was the condition which was very difficult, and herein lies the answer to her whole question. This is the way how wise people teach things. Otherwise he could have explained directly to her that this is the difference between lecture and sermon again, that things are being taught through practical examples. This Kissa Gautami, she now went from house to house, and people pitied her and said, here is a mustard seed. They offered her mustard seed, take it. But when she asked, did a son or a daughter, a father or mother die in your family? Now this second question, when she put second question to the inmates of the house after receiving the mustard seed, they answered her, alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Well, after regret, this is the answer she received from all the houses. The living are few, that means those who are living, they are very few. They are almost few, means almost none, but the dead are many. That means people who have died from our houses or who have left this worldly place, they are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. They also added that don't please remind us of our deepest grief, because if we remember those dear ones, we become more griefful, we become more sad. And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. So after asking almost all the houses, there was not a single house where no one had died. Kissa Gautami became weary and hopeless. Now she realized, she became tired and at the same time hopeless, and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city. Wayside means on the side, on the footpath, we can say, on the side of the road. Then she started watching lights as they flickered up and were extinguished again. Maybe there were flames of lights at that, they shine, then they die down again. At last the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. Finally what happened? Night enveloped the whole area. Everywhere it was dark. And she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up at and are extinguished again. Now there is comparison between the flickering of lights, that means shining of light, then dying down, and the human life. At one point of time we are alive, we can do anything, but a time comes when we are unable to do anything, when we become dead. And she thought to herself, how selfish I am in my grief. Now she realized. Now enlightenment also came upon Kissa Gautami. She realized that what Buddha was actually trying to teach her. How selfish I am in my grief. That means how self-centered I was in my grief. I didn't realize death is common to all. This is a common phenomena. One who is born has to die. Yet in this valley of desolation there is a path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness. In spite of the fact that one who is born and has to die, one can overcome this grief, this valley of desolation. In this suffering there is a path that leads him to immortality. There is a way by which one can attain immortality. How is that possible? That is only possible when you surrendered all selfishness, when you give in all your selfish needs, selfishness, when you surrender it. That this suffering is part of human life, we cannot escape it. As there is day, there is night. These are known as binary oppositions. One who is happy may be sad next moment, and one who is sad, they say every grief is followed by joy, and every joy is followed by sorrow. Just as there is a famous quote from one of the poets, if winter comes, can spring be far behind. Just as day and night come, similarly seasons and different seasons come one after another. The Buddha said, now these are the direct words of Buddha, the life of mortals in this world is troubled. That means this human life on this earth is full of troubles, is full of sufferings, and brief and combined with pain. And they are short, they are very short, they are very brief, and at the same time they are combined with pain. There is sadness, there is grief, there is suffering. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. This is the crux of this chapter. That means there is no way for human beings to avoid death. There is not a single way. Had there been any, then sages would have found it. There is not any means, that means there is no possible, come what may, by which those that have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. It is not mandated that only after reaching old age you will die. Some die in just as the child of this lady died in his childhood. As the ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals when born are always in danger of death. So this is a comparison with ripe fruits. Human life is compared to ripe fruits. Just as ripe fruits are in a danger of falling down early, so is the mortals. So are the mortals when born are always in danger of death. As all earthen vessels, another comparison is made in this between human life and earthen vessels. By the potter end in being broken, because whenever you see a earthen vessel, ultimately its end is it breaks down. So is the life of mortals. So we humans are mortals, we are bound to die. Sooner or later we have to die. Both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise. Human qualities may be different, some are good, some are bad, but ultimately all have to die. All fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. This death leaves no one. Whether you are weak or you are strong, whether you are poor, whether you are rich, whether you are beautiful, whether you are ugly, all have to die. Then he continues his sermon, of those who overcome by death depart from life. There are people who overcome death, they depart from life. What do they do? A father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Nobody can save his close or his close associate or family member. Mark, while the relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off. Now he says with stress in his this sermon, that means we should take note of this point, that when someone dies, then the relatives start lamenting, but one by one mortals are carried away, like an ox that is led to the slaughter. Just as a sheep or an ox is taken to the slaughter for sacrificing him or for slaughtering him, so is the case with humans. So the world is afflicted with death and decay, therefore the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. So those who are wise, they know that one day we have to leave this world, one day we have to pass, so therefore they do not grieve, they overcome this grief. So what is the procedure of overcoming grief? That we should not grieve, because it is certain, death is certain, each one of us have to die. Neither from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. So with doing these things, trying to show off or trying to express your feelings by weeping or grieving, you cannot obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be greater and his body will suffer. In fact, what happened, those who express their grief, their pain increases, their suffering increases. He will make himself sick and pale. So in fact, he in a way counter produces this effect of this suffering. He becomes sick and pale, yet dead are not saved by his lamentation, and the result is that still dead are dead. In spite of his lamentation, dead won't come back. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation. Those who want to find peace, what should they do? They should pull out this arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrows will become free from sorrows and be blessed. So in this concluding sentence, how to achieve peace, what should we do? We should overcome grief. We should realize that this suffering is part of human life, and those who realize it, those who accept it, they actually achieve real peace. So with this comes our concludes this chapter. Thank you very much for watching this lecture.